If you have an iPhone 12 Pro Max and you have this temperature warning about the phone overheating, but it's physically not hot, and you recently dropped it, it was smashed, or like in this case, this phone was ran over by an excavator, then I'm gonna show you what causes that, how to troubleshoot that issue, and how to fix it. Now this is a more advanced, complicated motherboard repair, so if you need this service, reach out to me through my website. It's right there at the bottom of the screen. But I'm gonna show you guys a cool little bypass that we can do to solve this a lot faster than the full fix. So depending on the type of damage it has, some of these are not fully fixable, but there is a way to fix it enough to get data. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. So before you jump into assuming it's a motherboard issue, it's always a good idea to rule out bad parts. So for iPhone 12 Pro Max, all you need is a screen like this one. This is my tester screen. You need a charging port. This is my known good charging port that I use for every data recovery job, and my known good battery. So these are the bare minimum parts you need to have plugged in to see if that issue goes away. Now, if you plug in these known good parts, these are basically parts I've used before that I know are good, and we're still getting a temperature warning, then you want to look into the motherboard issue. Now, iPhone 12 Pro Max has a sandwich style motherboard, which means there's two motherboards that are soldered together like this, and the main motherboard is the top board. So this is the NAND right here, this is the memory chip, and then this is the CPU right here. And then on this half is a lot of auxiliary or like secondary stuff that isn't necessary for booting or for power, but for example, there's cellular here, Wi-Fi, and a few other things. But the way Apple designed this model is they added two resistors on this bottom half of the board that are detecting the temperature of the phone. And if those resistors give off a certain value, it correlates to a certain temperature to the phone. But if they're disconnected completely, then the phone thinks it's like overheating, and that's why you get that warning. So basically what's happening is this is the two sides that are connected like this. And within these two sides, there's a disconnection from the CPU to those two resistors down here, and they physically rip. So these pads are all ripped off the board, and we have to rebuild the ones on this side so we can do the little bypass process. So let's take a look at ZXW. This is a program that tells us all the different lines, how everything's connected to each other, and the circuit names. So the two lines that are causing this issue that need to be repaired are these two: NTC Radio PASE, NTC Radio BBSE. These two connect to resistors on the bottom board. So basically here on this is the top side of the board, this is the CPU here. So this line goes to the PMIC, and this line goes to the PMIC as well. Now these, the way to think of it is, here's the PMIC, the power management IC. It outputs a signal to here, and then from here it goes to this half of the bottom board on the matching pin of the interposer, and then from there it goes down to this resistor. So this resistor goes one leg on the line, the other leg on ground. And if I hover over, you can see it is a 10K ohm resistor. So this one is a 10K ohm resistor, and basically this pad of the PMIC has to talk to that resistor. And the only way to do that is through here, from here to there, and from there to there. And same thing for the other pad. So this one, PMIC to that pad to here. From here, it goes to this resistor here. And basically same thing, it is also a 10K ohm resistor. So what you can do is to solve it, one, just reball the sandwich, make sure these two pads are present, and then reconnect it so it can make the whole connection all the way through. Or you can remove those resistors and then solder them here. So essentially what you'll do is you'll run one resistor like this. Right, there's like the two legs. So one gets soldered on here, and then one gets soldered to ground. It doesn't matter which ground, as long as one leg is on this line, and then one leg is on ground. And then the other resistor will do the same thing. So we just connect like that. Right, so one leg is on this line, and the other leg is on this line. And these have to be 10K ohm. So it doesn't have to be off this board. It could be from any board, but we have the bottom board here, so why even bother trying to find it somewhere else? Unless for some reason you don't have the bottom board, that is the solution. If you solder those two resistors to the board, the phone will boot up, no temperature warning, and you'll be able to get the data. So let's just go through that process on how to harvest it from this bottom board and solder it on. All right, so here's the board. All those brown circles are the rip pads. All the silver ones are not rip pads. So if you split the sandwich and you see all the pads are present, meaning they're all there, then your issue is just a reball, meaning all you have to do is just reball the two layers together and that should solve it. For example, here's the iPhone 12. But you can see how all the silver little pads are there, no rip pads. So this one would just need a reball, although that issue does not apply to the 12. Only 12 Pro Max has this very specific issue. If you have a temperature warning on another model, then you have another issue, most likely a charging port. So in this case, see all those brown circles? Those all have to be repaired to get the phone fully functional. In this case, we don't care about a full fix, we just care about data. And like I said, we cannot bypass that lock screen without fixing the temperature warning issue. So like I mentioned, we do offer mail-in service for anyone in the world, actually, US or international, for data recovery. So send me a message through my website for a quote. We do have a no data, no fee policy as well. Like I just showed you in my previous segment, we got to connect through a resistor, 10K resistor from here to here, and then from here to here. Now, both of these pads, all these pads are missing. Wait, hold on. It was these two here and then these two here. So you can see, if you look really close, it's kind of hard to see. There are these three dots. A trick to see better is drop some ISO. Now you can see way better. Those three dots. And then if you look closely, there's like a dark triangle shape to them. So what I like to do is just expose that triangle so we get a way bigger surface area to solder onto. So using a blade. By the way, careful who you send these to, because if you don't know how to fix rip pads, what's going to happen is you're going to dig too deep and destroy the board and make it not recoverable, or make it a lot more expensive, requiring a CPU swap. I do have videos on my channel on that process, and you'll see it could turn something very doable to very expensive or not doable. So you can see how I'm scratching basically between the three dots to expose all that copper. I'm going to do that here as well. Now technically the resistor can go to any ground. It doesn't have to be these exact pads. It could be any spot. Technically these are ground as well, although trying to reach that might be tricky. I don't know. I just found this is easier. Whatever you guys feel is best. Now once I'm done with this, I'll make a repair wiki guide, a written version of this, or if you guys want to contribute and make a repair wiki guide out of it, we could also pay you for that. So reach out to me if you are interested in contributing to the repair wiki. It is a free open source basically, or community driven solution portal basically for repair shops. So we could document all these solutions and fixes. So whenever it gets too hard to see, I like to drip ISO to get all the debris out of there. So these two are good. Now we gotta expose this triangle here. So what I like to do is go left and right, and then go up and down, and eventually you'll get it all exposed. Now the ground pads oftentimes do not have a triangle, it's just the whole thing. But I like to just keep the same kind of shape to them. I just like to stick to a triangle. And technically I could go down as well. So basically one down. But let's just stick to the drawing, that way I don't confuse you guys. So I gotta also, I will link to all my tools down below in the video description, so you guys can get these blades, the handle I'm using, the microscope, the lights, the solder, the iron. So what we're doing here is just scratching this out. There you have it. You should see what we got going on there. Now we gotta dry it out. Now we gotta add some flux. This is critical for any kind of soldering. I'm gonna tin everything we need to solder so we can make the install a lot easier. I'm using my micro pencil here. The downside to a micro pencil is that the heat's not strong enough, so it might struggle flowing. Oh, there it goes. On the ground, it might be a little more difficult. There you go, I got a good amount of solder. All right, now you see it went from shiny copper to now silver. That means we have solder on those. All right, so next up is this resistor here. So easiest way to find it is find like this section, you know, there's baseband CPU here, and on the right, there's a big cap, two small caps, and then a different orientation component here, which is the resistor. This is the customer's original bottom board. So yeah, there it is. So let me move all this thermal paste out of here. Right now I currently have the bottom board in the heater. This is just to make it a little easier to desolder. It's set to 150, and like I said, this is data recovery only, and we also don't need the bottom board, so we don't have to worry too much about keeping the board intact. So first thing I like to do, oh, look at that, I actually scooped it up with my iron. So just rubbing my iron with solder on there was enough to pick it up. So and it's stuck to my iron. So what I'm gonna do is here my iron. I'm gonna try to push it off my iron. All right, so I'm holding the resistor. Now, the resistor is soldered on, but you'll see it doesn't reach the ground. Let me see if I could adjust the position. I don't think that's soldered on. So let me try this. I'm gonna add a blob of solder there so it can grab. All right, I think that's on there. Let me see, I think if I poke it, yeah, that thing's not moving. All right, that's soldered on. And like I said, it doesn't have to be pretty. As long as the right side is connected to the pad and left side is connected to ground, we're good. Now we're gonna repeat the same thing for this one. So this one in particular is over here. So it's the second one from this IC here. It's the second one here. So just dig that one out. This one's a little trickier to get to because it's right here. So it's the second one. I usually use around 250 to clear underfill because this thing has like this glue stuff on the back side and on the sides. I shot for 250, but my heat gun stopped at 270, and I'm like, that's close enough. Doesn't necessarily have to be exactly. Although I do have a lot of experience and know how to handle the different scenarios. This is not an issue for me. All right, so just add flux. Let's see if I can pick this one up with my iron as well. Yeah, look at that, it's coming up and it's off. All right, let's see if I could. All right, it's off, but it's not soldered on. This one seems like a longer stretch. So what I can do, well, the important part is that the line is attached on one side and ground on the other. So what I can do is if I just, let me see, it won't reach up there. It's like kind of far also. So why don't I do this? Let me expose some ground here. As long as one leg is on ground, the other one is on that pad, that's all that matters. So I'm going to recreate ground on this other part of the board. I'm going to, now this is where experience helps. Because if you keep doing this, you're going to keep burning the solder, the flux. Let's see. My goal is to flow that there. Oh man, and I want to avoid hot air just because there's a lot of components nearby that I don't want to apply too much heat to. Oh, look at that. So the left side is soldered on. Now you got to flow the solder on the ground side. I think that's good. So let's take a look. How good is this connection? So ISO to clean it up. That's all we got to do. So this one, I'm pushing it, doesn't move. This one also doesn't move. Let's check in diode mode. I don't know what the reading should be in diode mode, but it would be good to get these readings so we can reference them later. So this pad, oops, sorry, 743, and this one, 745. So if, let's test this out. If this works, that means the readings are good. Yeah, because this side, detecting ground, ground, yeah, 745, 743. All right, let's try this out. So we have a lock screen. We can swipe up, and now we have a pin code screen. And there's one more piece to this, which is pretty easy. Type in the pin code, and we're gonna get a swipe to recover screen. What's gonna happen is it's gonna freeze on the last digit, and here in a few seconds, you'll get kicked into a white screen that's gonna tell you to swipe to recover. Like this, swipe to recover. Put in the pin code again. Put in the pin code a second time, technically third. And now you're gonna get this screen that says attempting data recovery. So as long as you put in the right pin code and you have all the right parts plugged in that prevents restarting, iPhone 12 Pro Max only requires, like I mentioned earlier, charging port, battery, and a screen, and it won't restart unless you have some other issue present on the board. But in most cases, if you don't have a separate issue present, it won't restart. And this is gonna take maybe 15 to 30 minutes to fully process. Once the screen goes to sleep, you can't tap to wake. You do have to use the power button. In my case, I use the tweezers to trigger the power button, and you can see there's a loading bar. So if you have this screen, you type in the pin code twice, and it restarts before it finishes, that means you have something else you need to solve. If it goes all the way through and then the screen says data recovery failed, that means you have the wrong pin code. Or in some like rare cases, I would say 5% of all these cases ends up being a board issue that is failing the correct pin code, which is a whole other topic. So let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video on that specifically. But in this case, we've solved the temperature issue, and that's really the main thing I want to cover. I'll see if I could record once this is done a fully working phone for data recovery. All right, the process is completed and it unlocked. So there you go, data is recoverable now. The phone never restarted, and now we can connect to the PC and we're good to go. Now you are gonna get pop-ups and errors and stuff, but that doesn't matter, the goal is data. So there you have it, data was successfully recovered. So that's it for today's video. Make sure you guys are subscribed If you want to see more videos like this, check out the links down below in the video description. I'll have a link to my website so you can send in your device for data recovery. Make sure you guys are signing up to my locals community if you want to support the channel. Also buy some t-shirts that are repair shop related, which are all linked down below in the video description. And let me know down below in the comments what you learned from this video and what else you want me to cover in the next one. So thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.